All right, today we're jumping into a pretty radical idea about where the internet is heading. It's about a massive power shift, and some are calling it a new era of digital sovereignty. Sounds intense, right? So what does that actually mean for us? Let's get into it.
To really get where we might be going, we have to start with a tough question about where we are right now. Just think about it. When you're scrolling through your feed, are you really the customer or are you actually the product? That one question is at the absolute core of the problem that this whole idea of digital sovereignty is trying to fix.
And that question leads us right into our first topic, the internet's walled gardens. This is basically the diagnosis of what the internet has become today.
You might think you're exploring this vast, open digital world, but the argument here is that we're not. We're actually spending most of our time inside a few gigantic digital kingdoms, these massive walled gardens. And inside those walls, the platform is the king. It controls what you see, who gets to see your stuff, and even how you can make a living.
And here's one of their most powerful weapons, something the source material calls the algorithm dictatorship. I mean, just look at this. You can spend years building up a huge audience, a real community, but then the platform's algorithm can just decide, yeah, we're only going to show your stuff to less than 5% of them. You want to reach the rest of the people that followed you? You got to pay the king's toll.
So, it all comes down to this really simple, kind of brutal business model. On these so-called free networks, you're not the customer. Your attention, your data, your eyeballs, that is the product. And it's all packaged up and sold to their real customers, the advertisers.
Okay, so that's the problem. It sounds a little bleak, for sure. But this isn't just about what's broken. It's about a proposed fix. And that brings us to the next section, the SNaaS solution.
So, SNaaS. It stands for Social Networks as a Service. And the core idea is actually super simple, but it could change everything. Instead of just renting a tiny little apartment in someone else's kingdom, the idea is you build and own your own digital home. You make the rules.
And make no mistake, this isn't just about some new app. The argument is that this SNaaS model is the very thing that could kick off the next evolution of the internet. We had Web 1 with its static pages, Web 2 with all the social platforms. Well, this proposes a Web 4 that's built from the ground up on this idea of digital sovereignty.
So, digital sovereignty sounds cool, but what does it actually look like day to day? Well, the easiest way to see the difference is to just put them side by side, the old way of renting versus this new world of owning.
First up, the big one, data control. In the renting model, like we said, your data is the asset that gets sold. But in the owning model, the database is yours, period. You control all of your community's data, and you get to decide if and how it gets used. That's what they mean by absolute data sovereignty.
Next up, reaching your audience. Remember that algorithm gatekeeper? Well, when you own the place, that gate is just gone. The promise here is direct, unfiltered access to your people. If someone follows you, you can reach them. All of them. 100%. Guaranteed.
Then, of course, there's the money. Right now, platforms often take a huge cut of anything you earn on their turf. The source calls this a success tax, which is pretty blunt. It's like you're being penalized for doing well. The alternative here is a simple flat rate. You pay for the service and you keep 100% of the money you make.
Let's just put a fine point on that, a 0% success tax. The idea is that your success should actually benefit you, not get siphoned off by the landlord.
And finally, who's in charge? When you're renting, you live under these vague community standards that can change on a whim. But ownership gives you what are called digital home rights. You get to write your own rules, create your own code of conduct, and be the final judge for your own community.
So what's the tech that's making this all possible? Well, it comes down to a few key pillars. You get your own separate, secure infrastructure. You can control the whole network with AI using simple voice or text commands. It can plug into all the other tools your business already uses. And, maybe best of all, it's a total white label, so it's your brand front and center always. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking. Owning your own digital infrastructure. That sounds incredibly complicated and probably super expensive. Well, the final piece of this argument tackles that exact problem head on. So, is the future sovereign?
Not that long ago, building your own custom social network would have cost millions of dollars. The big claim here is that that barrier to entry has been completely obliterated. The whole process is now supposedly just 3 simple steps. Have an idea, describe that idea to an AI in plain English, and then launch your community.
And that brings us to what is probably the most shocking claim of all. that you can build a unique, scalable AI-powered social network in about 30 seconds. I mean, if that's really possible, the goal here isn't just to sell a new product, it's to completely democratize the power to create communities online.
So, we'll leave you with the same provocative question that this idea poses. It's describing a future that shifts away from a handful of massive digital empires to literally millions of smaller, independent, sovereign communities. So, what would a world of a million small networks actually look like, instead of the few big ones we have now? It's a fascinating and maybe even revolutionary future to think about.